And I think it is now 2 o'clock. Hold on, let me get my strategic planning agenda pulled up. Miss Lydia, you want to take us live on strategic planning?
I do not have a broadcast button.
You don't?
No, sir.
What's the vice chair doing over there?
Nicole's got all the control. I can't do anything.
There you are.
All right. All right, lady, you should be good.
Start webinar? It doesn't usually say that. Is that okay?
Broadcast is what it should be.
Yeah, that's what it usually says.
Here,
This time it
I'll
says-
do it just in case there is something being a little janky. Hang on. All right, we're going live.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Tuesday, October the 6th strategic planning meeting. I'll now call this meeting to order. We have a pretty full slate of business to take care of this afternoon, beginning with introduction of the treasurer candidate. Miss Lydia, if you would bring Miss Mara Sullivan on, please.
Yes, sir.
Howdy.
Hi, Miss Sullivan.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So you have someone you'd like to introduce to us?
I do. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Hope you're all well today. Today we would like to introduce you to Miss Brittany Johnson. She is the mayor's appointee for the treasurer for the city of Chattanooga, for your consideration and approval of her appointment. Brittany is coming to us from the great state of Georgia. She has been the vice president of accounting and administration for a private sector firm that specializes in utility payments and utility accounting for multifamily housing units. So she has a lot of experience and lots of the things that our treasury department does. So I'd like for you to meet Miss Johnson, and we have this this appointment ready for your consideration. Hope that y'all can ask her good questions, and her resume I sent to Nicole last week when we got this on the 3-week agenda for your consideration.
Very well. Miss Johnson is on the call with us. There she comes now. Hi, good afternoon, Miss Johnson. You'll need to unmute your mic, please.
There we go. Hi there.
There. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Well, welcome to our strategic planning Zoom meeting. And I think the council has some questions that they would maybe like to ask you, or just to get to know you a little bit. So
Wonderful.
I want to just, if you wanted to just maybe give us a brief introduction of who you are and why you want the job, then we'll begin with the council.
Sure. I'm a Georgia native. I've lived in the same county all of my life. I'm a Hope graduate. I'm the first in my family to attend college and to graduate. And I fell in love with accounting when I was in school. I also worked full-time while I was going to school. And I've spent 15 years with my current employer doing all sorts of accounting type things. I oversee every penny in and every penny out. We've grown the business tremendously in the 15 years that I've been here. And because it's a small business, I've had an opportunity to get involved in a lot of other things, everything from quality assurance and database testing to assistance with account management. I've done some marketing, a lot of customer service. And the reason that I applied was because I was looking for a change in our lives. My husband is a clinical pharmacist at a hospital in Calhoun, Georgia. And we had just kind of gotten into a place of stasis in Ball Ground. And so Chattanooga, no one ever says anything bad about Chattanooga. You know, Chattanooga is where you want to be. And so when I saw the ad, I went ahead and applied. And when I hit the submit button, there was a blurb right at the top that said, if you're not a Tennessee resident, don't even apply because we're not going to consider you. And I applied anyway, and was elated to get the phone call. And the more I talk with the team at the city, the more excited I am, because it's obvious that they're a great team. You guys are part of that team. And, you know, everyone is very vested in making Chattanooga the best it can be, which is just awesome. And I'm going to be a part of something like that.
All right, very good, very good. I'm going to open the floor now up to the council. Any questions or comments that you would like to make to Ms. Johnson? Go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll call on you in the order that your hand goes up. Well, you must have done such a great job in your introduction that nobody has any questions.
Ask her about her horses.
Oh, I do
Uh-oh.
have horses. I've had horses my whole life. So growing up, I always wanted one. And my parents said, well, if you want one, you better save the money and you can buy it yourself and you can take care of it yourself. And so I did just that. And when I was 11 years old, I paid $1,000 for my first horse and started working to support him. And the bug never went away. So I have two horses. They live in Cedartown, which is the exact same drive from Chattanooga as it is from Ball Ground. But I compete with my youngest horse. His name is Redford. And I have an older retired horse named Ruger that all he does is eat and consume after-tax income, and that's okay. But I have a great time with them. I like to compete. I know a lot of people in the horse world. That's actually how I was able to get all of my housing situation in Chattanooga settled so quick, as I made a couple phone calls to people in that area of expertise, and we have it lined up. I'm also really big into volunteering for an organization called CARES. It's Cedartown Animal Rescue, Education, and Sterilization, and it's a dog rescue. And so every weekend I'm there, you know, helping them out and exercising puppies and teaching dogs new things. So I like to get out in the community. I'm looking forward to finding where we fit in that with Chattanooga. But that's what I like to do in my spare time. I also like to cook. I will concede defeat, though my husband is better at cooking steaks and chocolate chip cookies. But I've got everything else pretty much on lockdown.
Well, good, good. I'm not going to force the council to ask you questions if they don't want to, and I'm certainly we're not going to drag this out. So, council, if you have anything that you would like to say to Ms. Johnson, or just a question, I'm going to give you just a couple of seconds, and if not, Ms. Sullivan, we'll move on. Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to move to the council to put this on the agenda as quick as
Second.
our rules allow.
I agree with Jerry on that.
I think it could be placed on the 2-week agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, seems like we have a motion and a second to be placed on the 2-week agenda.
What would that date be, Mr. Chair? Are you talking about next week or 2 weeks?
20th.
The 20th.
I think it would be the 20th to be placed on the 2-week agenda. So it would show up on the 13th. We'd vote on the 20th. Is that good?
I'm fine. I think we should go ahead and move it just as soon as we can, following our procedure.
I mean, I guess we could. Today's the 6th. I mean, if the council wanted to, we could vote on it as early as next week. Councilman Mitchell, what do you have in mind?
As quickly as we can do it by our rules.
Oh, Mr. Chair,
The chair likes to break our rules, so I'm good with next week if that works out.
Well, I love to follow Councilman Smith any chance I get.
Mr. Noblett?
Yes, sir. Two people have already announced that they'd like to have it on here. I believe there is a need to be able to have a treasurer as soon as you can, just because of the issues of the tax notices going
Okay.
out here in early October.
I think with two council people, we can get it on next week's agenda, can't we?
Yes,
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm with Jerry on that.
All right, then. Let's place it on next week's agenda, Mr. Attorney, for a vote on the 13th.
yes, sir.
Okay? Ms. Johnson, welcome to Chattanooga.
Thank you so much, and thank you guys for taking the time to meet with me today. I'm over the moon excited. I can't wait to meet all of you in person. I hope you have a great day.
Hey, Mr.
All
Chair,
right.
one final thing for Miss Johnson. She said she's already located a place to stay in Chattanooga. Whereabouts is that?
We're going to be in East Brainerd.
East Brainerd,
It's
all right.
it's a home it's Hickory View Lane, which is off of Hickory View. Is that a road? I think.
Actually, she's in District 6, and she
Okay.
couldn't have. Yeah.
I'm a little bit better about it. That's okay.
Oh, yeah. You
Listen,
notice I stayed silent till my straight man spoke up.
District 6 needed a little bit more bright, so we're good with
That's
that.
absolutely right. So
And
welcome-
we close on the
welcome, Brittany.
21st. So we're really, really excited.
So are you bringing your horses to District 6?
I'm sure
We
I'd be breaking
could.
some sort of ordinance.
Hey, we can cut a deal. Don't tell anyone
okay.
else. Yeah.
Don't let
You're
her
talking
date.
to the right people.
Do you
That's
need
good
it?
to know.
Do you need any chickens?
Oh, God. No, say no. Say no.
And
I
I'm
think
sure
Ms.
he-
I
I'm
think
sure
Ms.
he
Sullivan's
spoke-
ready to cut it off.
I think
I'm
we need
sure,
to
I'm
move
sure
on,
if he
Mr.
spoke to
Chair.
my dog, he would like to be rescued too, but that's District 2.
All right, folks, I think we need to shut it down. We've gone a little far. Okay, Ms. Johnson, thanks so much for coming on, being with us, and welcome to Chattanooga.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.
All
too.
right.
You
Bye.
too, Miss Johnson.
Bye-bye.
All right, Miss Lydia, you can excuse our guest.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda is Granicus Peak agenda. And Miss Sullivan, I think, well, and you just went away.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'll bring her back.
Is that? Yeah, bring her back right quick. Sorry, Miss Sullivan.
Getting,
Remind-
Zoom, getting
Yeah,
wind blown.
beam me up. Remind me again who's presenting for y'all on the Granicus.
Granicus is Matt McDermott.
Okay, Miss Lydia, can you find Matt?
Yes, sir. He's on his way.
I hope that y'all like this program. I think that it will be real helpful to all of us and getting an easier platform for us to exchange information and have good follow-up on better follow-up for us to help y'all do your work. So I'm hopeful. I have big aspirations for this. So I hope that it is helpful.
All right. Good
Councilman?
afternoon, Mr. McDermott.
Yes, sir.
Is that how you say that?
Close enough. We'll go
All
with
right.
it.
Are you gonna wow me here with your information?
We can only hope. I'm not sure if I was designated the spokesperson of the sacrificial lamb, so I'll try to go easy on us.
Okay, that can go either way.
That's right. All right. Well, good afternoon. IT and the city attorney's office and Nicole Gwen, we have been working in the background to bring you guys an up-to-date solution for the current agenda process. As it stands, we have kind of a modge podge of Google Sheets, different forms that are being passed around as PDFs. And we saw an opportunity to greatly improve the efficiency and the accountability of the resolution submission process. I do want to be clear up front that the council agenda in itself, that format will not be modified. That is not something that we wanted to do this early on in the process. And as it stands, this is all background as far as city operations and how we get those items to you. So if I have the ability, I do want to share my screen for just a moment and kind of give you guys a run through of this platform and what it has to offer. All right, so this is the main portal, and this is what your city employees will see when they log into the system. Fairly bare bones, straightforward. We get to see all of the upcoming council sessions, as well as how many items are scheduled for each one of those sessions and how many have been approved internally. As of right now, we have just started pilot testing. So we have city drafters who are responsible for actually writing those resolutions and ordinances, entering data into the system. Once that data is entered, it gets kicked off to the department deputies for approval, then the department admins, management and budget office, finance administration, over to the office of the city attorney and Phil's team, and then to Mara and Tony for final approval before being forwarded to Nicole for publication. So there is a defined process as far as making sure that all users within that ecosystem see this material, are able to review, comment, revise as necessary, and then also grant their final approval. So going through, let me move my Zoom window here. Let me give you a sample of what these approval workflows look like. And we'll go with CDOT since they are first on the list. So again, we have multiple people within the department that are able to enter data into the system. Again, just a resolution request form. This has the language, any account information, if it's a grant program, something through capital, all of that is noted, mirroring the existing information that we're collecting. But now we actually have the ability to validate that data. We can export it, multiple formats, and actually track this progress over time. And similar to what I previously described, these are the workflows where we are able to identify the administrators, multiple people within finance, signing off, making sure that everything is clean and up to date. As they go through this approval process, once Mara and Tony give their final sign off, these are all sent to the city's attorney's office for the final review, then go to Nicole. And at that point, the agenda is ready to present to council. So again, fairly straightforward. The main goal here is to create a clear paper trail. And of course, if there are any questions on behalf of the council, we know exactly the people in the ecosystem and where those changes came from.
Okay. Any questions from council?
Yeah, I've got one.
Councilwoman Burrs?
So, Matt, let me ask just a basic question. The agenda, it's the council's agenda or the city's agenda to present to the council?
Yes, this is
Yes, which?
This is a city tool to present the council's agenda.
Hey,
Okay.
Phil, why don't you, Phil, can you help with that? Because it's the things that are coming from the administration.
Yeah.
And then for the council. And then if city attorney's office is providing some help for items that for council, I'm not sure how Phil is going to handle those. If city attorney's office will place them in Granicus, or I don't remember in our training how he said he was going to do those.
Yeah, I think there should be a similar thing for the city council. If you're trying to get an ordinance to start, definitely on that end of it, that is a legislative act by the council, then that would start in that level on here. And then our office would work back and forth with the council member who was working on that item. Most of these items are your regular agenda items that come up each week here on contracts or resolutions that may be pending and they're awaiting council approval before they can become final. If there is an ordinance that is being urged by a department, it would go through this level, but these are mainly dealing with resos here on the front end.
Yeah, I get that. I think this is an excellent idea. I think somehow we've tipped the balance a little bit, unless Chip, you're already getting these things, but it's the council's agenda. I think Mara said it best. It's the council's agenda. Administration has things they want to place on the council's agenda. And so going through all of this vetting to make sure administration's, all the pieces for administration are cool to put on the council's agenda. There was one thing I didn't see, and that's the chair saying, yes, this can go forward.
Correct. And Councilwoman Burrs, one of the control mechanisms that we do have in place is that Nicole has been, as it stands, and of course this is subject to change to whichever way you want this to go. But Nicole does have full admin rights to the system, and anything that the council chair or any of the remaining council members wish to add or remove from the agenda can all be managed within council itself.
Okay, I guess what I'm saying here is what the council has had challenges with before is, should this have gone on? Shouldn't this have gone on? You know, this sort of thing. Should we have been able to discuss it first? So I'm just making sure that as we do this, Nicole doesn't make the decision whether stuff goes on the agenda or not. The chair does. Or the council does, really, because it's the council's agenda. I'm trying to obviate the stuff that's been going on for the past 5 or 6 months. I know how our stuff gets on the agenda. But suppose administration wants to put something on the agenda that we're not ready for them to put on the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
How does that vetting take place?
We can include the council chair or any other council members that you deem fit is the final phase of that workflow process. And that's a 30-second modification.
Yeah, it's just something to be thinking about, because I notice anytime there's been a glitch is because people are saying, how did that get on the agenda? And we can obviate that now. So I think the flow through for council, for administration is great, so that they know. And I think it gives administration a chance to look at stuff we might bring up that hasn't been through the vetting relative to finance and, so we bring up the enabling legislation. Implementation is totally administration. So, it works both ways. We could bring something up that they don't want on the agenda because the implementation isn't available. So I'm just tossing these thoughts out because this is a good opportunity to kind of clean some of that stuff up.
Councilwoman,
I don't know if my colleagues have anything to say or not.
Councilwoman, let me insert, and at least, I guess from my viewpoint, when we began putting things on the look ahead, we call it the 3-week agenda, but it's really the future, the look ahead. And
Right, it's misnamed.
Yeah, I think that was council's opportunity to look before something proceeded to get on our agenda. It was the council's opportunity to take a look at the look ahead at the future considerations and say, I'm not ready for that to get onto the agenda yet. I think the default, if no one said anything, the default was from the future considerations to the 2-week agenda, and then from the 2-week agenda, obviously, to that week's agenda. So I think the future considerations is the council's opportunity to say, let's hold up on this item. I'm not ready for that to be on the agenda. But your silence is consent for it to be placed on the agenda. Now tell me if I'm wrong, or my thinking is wrong in that process.
I don't think your thinking is wrong at all, but for some reason, this has turned into a 3-week agenda, which we didn't change the name of, and it shouldn't be. Things shouldn't automatically be on the agenda until we've said silence is fine.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
if we're
yeah.
silent, it's that things are automatically going on the agenda. And then that's what's causing some
Mhm.
strife. I
Yeah.
think it's just something to think about.
So I think, and one thing I have tried to stress to the administration is the process. Nothing should ever be on the 2-week agenda that has not appeared on future considerations. If
I agree.
if it hasn't hit future considerations, it should never be on the 2-week agenda. And the future considerations is the council's opportunity to say, hold up, I'm not ready for that to be placed on the 2-week agenda. If we say nothing, then it can, at their discretion, be placed on the 2-week agenda.
I think there's one thing we may want to think about, and this is my last comment, and that is there are things on, it says items for future consideration and not necessarily a 3-week or 2-week agenda, that we know if it's going on a 2-week or a 3-week agenda. Sometimes council folks are silent because they don't know when it's going on.
Well, my suggestion would be, if you see it on future considerations, say something. I mean, as soon as you see it, if you have an issue with it, we need to know. I guess we could assume that when we see something on future considerations, we could assume that it is the 3-week agenda, and then the following week it's going to be on the 2-week agenda. We could go on that basis, because I think we were trying to get away from pinning the administration down to when is this going on, because sometimes they like to get it in the queue, but they're not quite ready for it to appear in the agenda the following week.
I think in the queue is one thing. I think committing a suicide is a big mistake. And I don't have any problem. I just sat here listening to a lot of talk going on among my colleagues right here. And I just think this is a good time to, there's no fault anyplace. This is a good time to get everything cleaned up, or at least have complete mutual understanding.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, I'm ready to move on. I just think there's been some misunderstandings.
Well, let me go back and clarify something, a statement that you made. I heard you say you would like to know when it is being planned on putting on the 2-week agenda. Is that correct?
I would like to know if there's things for future consideration that are being worked on. If something is going to go on the agenda, then I think a heads up is good.
Mara,
There have been a couple of times recently where that hasn't happened. And at least a couple of us have had to work on that. And I don't think anybody's at fault here. I just think we need to clearly need
to understand the process.
Yeah.
Council, to address some of those points, I will say that as far as being able to see potential upcoming items, and again, we do have the ability to add, remove, and we can give you direct access to make sure that you have that control as well. But this system is an improvement as far as the visibility to see upcoming items, because previously you had a 2-3 week agenda. at this point, for many of the departments that have defined items that come up on an annual basis, semi-annual, you will actually be able to see that window as far out in the future as they have planned. So instead of, being limited to that 3-week window, you could know 2 months in advance what's in that pipeline. And of course, as any modifications are necessary, there are multiple people across the city that will be able to go into the system, manipulate those requests as needed. But agreed, a lot of work has been done on the back end with a focus of how do we vet these items before they land on your plate, with of course knowing that the council as a whole is going to be making that decision of when and how these items are being presented. So I would be happy to coordinate with council chair, anyone else that would like to be involved with that, and drag you in as we wrap up the final phase of vetting this product and making sure that we are ready to go live. And as of right now, we are in phase 1 testing, which is making sure that we have all of the correct users in the system, validating those internal department workflows, and kind of troubleshooting those bugs before we actually start bringing this into the public eye. So while there are multiple legitimate points and areas for improvement, I do want to reassure you that as it stands right now, our changes, our modifications have no bearing on the current process. And for the next few upcoming weeks, there will be no changes whatsoever. And of course, we want your final sign off before making the full migration to this new system.
Councilman Mitchell, I need you to unmute your mic, please.
Thank you. It almost looks like to me, if the city is going to migrate to this system, there is a potential for a replacement of the administrative items on notice for future consideration, or instead of replacing it, the administrative items on notice for future consideration could become what you showed us, in that when it gets to the bottom and we have, I guess, Mara and Tony sign off on something, maybe that particular item or those items become the administrative items on notice for future consideration. I mean, that's just the first thought of looking at it and seeing how we sort of put those two things together, Mr. Chair. If I made any sense at all.
Well, and let me ask you this, Ms. Sullivan, would that be, I guess, when you and Tony sign off on that, that could hit a list that would become something that we look at in a strategic planning or an agenda session?
Exactly. Yes, sir. It sure can.
Okay. I see a lot of head nodding. I think that maybe would satisfy what most council folks are looking for then.
Great.
And
Good.
knowing what is about to be placed on the 2-week agenda.
We are trying to get to, as I said at the beginning, trying to get to something that is less frustrating for y'all and has greater transparencies to help our communication. Communication is difficult now, even more so with COVID time. So we really hope that this tool will help us have a way for all of you to see what we're working on, and that we can get your feedback to be sure that we're going the right direction.
I think we're headed in the right direction. Any, Councilman Mitchell, another comment?
Yeah, just to follow up real quickly. I understand how the chair and Nicole could probably have some better access than the council, but is the council going to have at least the ability to see what's going on with the administration as it flows through this process? So
Yes.
that you can get some notification
Yeah.
a little bit more ahead of time, even about what is being worked on.
Yes, sir. As new items are being added to the system, you can receive an automated email with a direct link to be able to view those items. And once you have that notification, you will also be able to go in and monitor any revisions that are taking place within the internal departments, even prior to those approvals being set in stone.
But our access will be basically read only, right?
As it stands, that is correct.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
I think from that standpoint, Councilman, that's where you would, I think, get in touch with the chair. In other words, you're being made aware of what's coming up, you know, what's in the queue, as well as what's immediately planned for the 2-week agenda. And I think you've got a couple opportunities at either one of those points at places.
And Mr. Chair, I think it'll be a great help for your committee system as well. I think your committee chairs will really be able to dig into what's coming up in their areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, any other questions? All right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that information and the update, Ms. Sullivan. Miss Lydia, I think you can, I'll tell you what, leave Miss Sullivan in for just a moment. You can excuse our other guest.
Thanks, Matt.
The next on our agenda is the new 311 app, and I think that we need to bring in Brent and also Derek
Frizzell,
Frizzell. Derek Frizzell.
Director. Hey, Brent.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, good afternoon, Brent.
All right.
Brent, is there someone else from your team that needs to be included, or are you driving this?
Jamie needs to be included.
Who?
Jamie.
What's her last name?
Myers.
Jamie Myers, Miss Lydia.
Thank you.
While we're waiting.
Is also very exciting, and very exciting work that our IT department, in conjunction with 311, has done to create our homegrown solution for our 311 back of office architecture and framework that helps us respond to resident complaints in a faster and more productive manner. And I'm really excited about the work that IT has been able to do, and 311 is just really, really excited about it. So I'll turn it over to Brent and for further setup and to show you what they've got going on.
All right, thanks, Mara. Got some exciting news for you today. And before we get started, I just want to talk to you about this. This is the 311 portion of it, but it's more than that. It's actually what we're calling the My Chattanooga experience and My Chattanooga app. In simplest terms, My Chattanooga is a data-centric single identity for our citizens. And that just means you have one identity, you can log in, you can conduct business with the city. So it's going to go beyond 311 eventually. It will include business licenses. And one cool thing that when I learned a long time ago when I moved here, I came from a place where there was only one utility company, and they did everything, sewer, water, the whole kit and caboodle. So when I turned on my electricity, I thought I was done, and I had a cold shower. So it was nice. I had to figure out later that I had to call the gas company and all these other companies. So that's another thing we're doing with this system, so that people can use it either on the web or on their phone to be able to identify not only their own council person and what district they live in based on their address, but also to be able to see what utility company they need to contact in their area. So I'm in Hickson in District 3, so I contact Hickson Water instead of the other one, Tennessee American. So it's good to know those types of information. But anyway, I'll turn it over to Jamie. She's going to give you a rundown of real quick of what the app looks like, but just keep in mind it's much broader than where this is. This is just the beginning.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
Welcome to My Chattanooga. Can you see my screen all right?
We can, yes.
All right. So first things first, when you log in, you'll create an account. You'll have the ability to save your address so that it always knows where you live, and you'll be able to tailor the information to what may be most important to you. So right in the home screen, you have the different sections of the application, my 311 my government, my neighborhood, my utilities, and my waste pickup. You can see a quick summary of the recent activity that you have submitted to 311, as well as popular requests. These are the ones that we know get hit a lot, so we want to put them front and center for ease of access. You can also see your waste pickup days. So literally my garbage can is right outside right now, about to be picked up this Tuesday, and my next recycle date is Wednesday. If I wanted to submit a 311 request, I could go to my 311 and you'll see some of the same information. So my recent 311 activity, as well as popular requests. But in this case, I'm going to actually click on new request, and I can search for a request type like brush. And here I could go straight to that request by clicking. I could also browse, much like the current application. So because I've created an account, it remembers the address that I have submitted for my account. So it knows who I am. If I wanted to, I can enter a different address, but I'll click next. I can fill out all the fields that are required. I could also add a photo, up to 3 photos to my request so that people could see, employees could see pictures of my brush pickup. I can submit publicly so that other citizens can see the request. I could also submit privately if I don't want it to be visible to other people within the application. When I submit, I'll get my confirmation number. And because we are doing a beta testing, I also have the opportunity to give feedback on the application, which would take me to a SurveyMonkey survey. When anything with a request changes, so the status changes or there's a comment by a city employee, I can go up to my notifications and I see that I have several now, that something on my request has been changed. And when I click on it, it will take me to that request type, and I can see that for this request in particular, my status has changed from submitted to in progress. The request details that I entered are below, and I can also, as a citizen, I can add a comment to that request. So now, as we scroll up, we can see that I have added a comment. The next section of My Chattanooga is my government. The mayor is listed first, Mr. Burke, and my council person is next, Mr. Henderson, as well as the other council representatives are listed below with email and the city phone number to contact. Next, we have my neighborhood, and this will show me very basic information about government spaces or services that may be in my immediate area. So first things first, I have my neighborhood association. I also have my nearest city park, my nearest YFD center, Youth and Family Development Center, as well as my closest branch of the public library, which happens to be downtown. As Brent was saying, we know that people have questions about the utility services that are offered here in Chattanooga. So we do have a section for my utilities that will list all the utility companies that service the Chattanooga area. So Brent's water company is Hickson, but mine is Tennessee American. One of the things that we're also looking at, I mean, like Brent said, we are looking for ways that we can further develop this application. And we would love it if instead of just linking to the sewer fees, you could pay your sewer fee right within the application. That's the kind of functionality that we're looking to add in the future. Next, we have My Waste Pickup, which again, this is your trash and recycling days. We know that the 311 call takers, they get calls all the time asking, what is my trash and recycling days? When is my next recycling day? You know, so we wanted to give that right up front and center. Here's your next recycle day, no worries, right in the application. So that's a preview of My Chattanooga. I assume that you all will have some questions.
I do have a couple of hands up. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hey, Jamie, quick question for you. So a lot of times in the neighborhoods, folks come to us and they say, hey, I filled out 311, I put out my brush, they picked it up, and the next door neighbor next door literally puts out theirs the next day. So you got another 7 to 10 days. Is there a way to help organize the pickups to where a neighborhood can get together and say, we've got 5 to 6, 7 pickups, and it might encourage people to get things done in a time frame that allows for things to be picked up quicker. And I see that all the time where someone puts it out, it's there for a while, and then literally the next day the neighbor does it, and I'm like, why didn't you guys coordinate? Or they'll pick it up and there's something out there and they go buy it because it's not on their list. We've heard of that as well. And they're like, well, we can't pick it up unless it's in our queue. And I will say, I see Derek's on here too. Derek, you've been really, really awesome at getting back to me and responding to me when things have been done, requests that I've asked about. So I think 311 is working. And I'm very excited to see where this takes us going forward.
Councilman, I can, if I can interject there.
Yeah, go ahead, Brent.
That's actually a public works functionality. It's not really 311. And while it won't be in this version, I can tell you that. While we could do some kind of scheduling system to go in it, that would still require people to coordinate. So we don't really have any control over how people coordinate things. And like I said, that's a public works thing.
You good, Councilman?
I'm good. Thank you, sir.
I also just want to interject as well, Councilman Ledford. This program will give us the opportunity to build out this system so that Public Works could ask for that capability. The program that we are currently under with Public Stuff or Acela does not even give us that option. And like Brent said, while it may not be in this version, if that is something that Public Works hopes to address or wants to address in the next version, then by all means, with this being a grown home, a homegrown system, we would be able to accommodate that.
I can expand on that a little bit too, that it is possible to do that. So when I said that we want to expand this to include other things, like Derek said, we do want to have the ability, so maybe it could automatically coordinate those things and line them up so that Public Works can see, oh, hey, there's 3 of them right there. Let's just go grab those instead of, going back 3 or 4 times and, saving fuel. But it also ties into other ideas and other projects that we're doing with machine learning and AI and with the smart city stuff and those folks, where, like, for example, we can put cameras in the garbage trucks. They're one of the only vehicles that actually touches every single road in the city. Police cars don't necessarily do that, only go on their areas. But if we put cameras on the garbage trucks, those garbage trucks can take that footage and notify road details, and then we can automatically pick that up. So when we go out to Public Works and they fix a pothole, we know that it's been fixed, and we can see it over time how long it remains that way. And we can use machine learning and artificial intelligence to be able to do that. So that's in the works. One of the kind of things that we're talking about doing in the expansion of the whole thing.
You better have a lot of storage space if you're going to start recording our potholes.
Yeah, well, online we've got plenty.
Councilman Gilbert.
Will the holidays be included in the 311 scheduling?
I assume you're referring to the trash and recycling days?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So what we can do is put out text on the trash and recycling days when holidays are coming up. Right now, the only holidays, correct me if I'm wrong, Derek, but the only holidays that we have are Thanksgiving and Christmas, when the trash and recycling trucks do not run. And currently, with the data that we were able to pull from Public Works, they themselves are not accounting for holidays in the math of calculating the dates. However, when the next week rolls around after the holiday, essentially that math will correct itself. So we can put out an announcement certainly when holidays are coming up and the alternate days that would be used for trash and recycling pickup.
Or even for emergency events.
Yes.
Inclement weather, things like that.
And Brent, I know we've been working on it. In the near future, will this 311 be able to tell the constituents if a task is in progress, instead of saying it's out?
Yeah, Jimmy showed earlier that it will, you can go look and see the status of what status it's in. So as it progresses through its cycle, it'll change.
Okay, appreciate that.
Councilman Byrd.
Thank you, Chair. One thing, how do we, I think you said it, Jamie, on the survey. I think this is what you was alluding to. So many people have problems like Darren was saying, where sometimes you'll pick up trash here, but won't pick it up here. And I hear a lot where, say you have elderly people that really take care of their community and they say, well, I called to get something picked up and they did. And I know Brent said, this is an internal problem, not a 311 issue. This is just the mechanism to get the information out. But through the survey, can they report like, how can Chattanooga serve me better? And they can write something to say, could we do X, Y, Z? And we get it to those departments so that the community in hand is telling us how to serve them better. Is that what the survey will be about? Or is there anything on this mechanism that could help that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So currently there is a 311 ticket that exists in the current system for that type of feedback. And that will exist in this new system that we're developing. For the survey that we have created right now, what we're looking for is feedback on the application itself. How can we make this application better for citizens? So for example, because we're rolling into beta testing, are you experiencing any bugginess? Are you noticing anything weird with the platform that you're using, so that we can then go through, pinpoint where that was and fix it?
Understand. And thank you for that. And if we can definitely put this bug in, is that so many people don't understand or know that we even have a 311 app, especially when I'm walking around my community. Maura, I know we have a call list where we can do robocalls or something. Is it some type of marketing plan or something we have to launch this 311 app so our constituents will know that we have it? It's great to have it, but if no one know about it, it kind of doesn't serve a purpose, because it's something amazing, but just so many people that I talk to don't even know we have 311 app.
We do plan on putting out a press release, and we are doing a campaign for it.
All right, thank you. Please let me know so I can get that information so I can send it out as well. Thank you so much.
And to your point, Councilman, again, we get back to that idea of not just improving the application, but making the way that citizens can conduct business with the city easier and faster, and making the way that we can conduct business with them easier and faster.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, Brent, I don't see any more hands. I do have a couple of questions. Does My Chattanooga replace the 311 app?
Yes, it does.
Will it do it? Maybe automatically is not the right word, but do I have to go to my app store and download My Chattanooga?
Yes, sir, you will.
Okay. And when will that become available?
We're launching it later this fall. We don't have an exact date yet. We're working on the campaign.
Okay. And I'm going to go out and assume that the My Chattanooga is GIS capable. In other words, if I'm not at my house location and I want a mattress picked up, it could pinpoint where I am and automatically enter the request.
In the next version, after we get through the beta, it will be. But right now, as it stands, that's one of the reasons we're waiting to launch it.
So the current version does not or won't be able to, but at some point they will.
It will, yes.
Okay. All right. Council, any other questions for any of our guests? All right. I see no other hands. Great presentation, guys and gals. All right, Miss Lydia, you can excuse our guest.
Yes, sir.
Next item on our agenda, I asked our clerk to put on, and it's a discussion of other business in our 6 o'clock agenda session. And I think most of you saw or realized that last week I had other business taken off of our agenda. I feel like we've gotten a little loose with other business. And so what I would like to be able to do is place it back on the agenda only when we have a specific item to be discussed. And I'm going to give you, for example, Councilman Mitchell has a board appointment that he called me about, and he said, hey, I need to make a board appointment. Where would you like for me to do it? And I said, well, I think that's entirely appropriate to make during other business. I'll be happy to put it back on with the intentions of just recognizing that item. So I think you will see on the new agenda, it'll have other business and it'll say listed items only. What it's an attempt to do, and I feel like part of the chair's job is to make sure that our business meetings, and that's what they are, is business meetings, is run in a professional manner. And I feel like we have some meetings in the past looked a little silly, and we seem to get sideways under other business. It allows, I think, with only discussing items that are listed, to be able to let the chair keep us on track and on task. So if you have any questions or comments or concerns about how we're going to begin handling other business, Councilman Byrd.
Yes, Chair. If you would, before I make my statement, could you give me a definition of what in the past other business was supposed to be for?
Well, other business is basically a place in the agenda where it didn't seem to fit any other agenda item. In other words, whenever we need to make board appointments, whenever the city attorney needs to have a beer or liquor license placed on the agenda for notice. Other business is a legislative matter. And it's just it's a place where it didn't seem to fit anywhere else in the agenda. So it is business that the council needs to consider, and this is the place that we do it.
Okay, well, Chair, this is an issue that I run into sometimes, Chair. Sometimes I reach out to maybe some administrative, to the administration, and I'm complaining about my constituents' issues, and it seems like sometimes my complaints kind of get kicked down the road until I bring it on a public platform. And other business a lot of times allows me to not interrupt the agenda, but make a point to the administration that, hey, I've asked and sent emails and had conversations and it seems to not get addressed. So now that I'm saying it in a public format in its own record, now let's see if we can get it addressed. And it seemed like if we take that away, it kind of takes away one of our caveats to be able to address the administration or even this body in a content to where we can get things moving. So that's my opinion.
So let me throw this out.
Yes, sir.
We could entertain something at our 3:30 agenda. You mentioned addressing the administration in a public meeting. That certainly would be a public meeting. I feel like during our 6 o'clock hour, we're obviously voting. It's a business-like approach
Yes, sir.
to running the city.
Yes, sir.
And so maybe we need to create an avenue during our 3:30 agenda where it's not as much of a business meeting for council people to be able to address situations like this. Would that take care of your concerns?
Not, and I know this is going to sound kind of crazy. Not really, because at 1:30 or 3:30, the masses of the public is not there, in a sense where I don't want to use it to seem as if I'm grandstanding, because I've asked nicely several times. And sometimes when you put a person in front of the media or you put a person in front of their peers, they seem to understand that, okay, now it's serious and I have to take care of it. But at 3:30 and those other, or 1:30 or 2 o'clock, whatever, we don't have the people there a lot of times to shed the light on the problem. And sometimes it just feels like when we say stuff at 3:30, sometimes it go it doesn't get addressed. So 6 o'clock, a lot of times the business is over with, it's done at the end of the meeting. And it just seemed like I get a better response at 6 than I will at 3. But that's my opinion. We have a full body here. So I like to hear from my other
Sure.
people. So
We got a couple more hands up. Councilman
yes,
Ledford.
sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I understand what you're trying to accomplish. So I have a couple of technical questions. One, what is the deadline for making other business onto the agenda?
So I would think probably by Friday of the following, the Friday before that Tuesday, we could get an item added to the other business agenda.
Okay, and who would we notify?
The chair,
Okay,
and then the chair would notify the attorney.
and what emergency items do you think might be considered to be placed on there with the chairman's permission?
Now, you said what, emergency?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I'm not following that question. This is not, other business is not emergency items. It's items that really don't have a place anywhere else in the agenda that we need to address in front of the council, like a board appointment.
Understood. So basically, it's not the place for to bring up emergency items and for discussion. That would be done in another session, either a 1:30 or agenda session.
Well, can you give me an example? I'm not sure.
Maybe emergency wasn't the correct term. Something that was of concern to us that may have recently popped up.
Okay, and I think maybe during that 3:30 agenda, maybe we need to create, and I'm going back to the 3:30 agenda again, because that's more council,
Sure.
interaction. That's where we ask questions and we lay out concerns. Here again, I'm going back to what our 6 o'clock
Yes, sir.
format is supposed to be, and it's a business meeting.
No, I understand, and I understand the points yeah, very well, and using that time also to make score points wherever to try to get things done. Our job is to get things done to be effective, but I understand the concerns, and I appreciate you thinking about the efficiency of the 6 o'clock meeting, and I like the idea of moving that, or having a special session maybe at our 3:30 or at our strategic planning session.
Okay.
So thank you. Yes, sir.
Councilwoman Burrs.
Thank you. I'm listening to what Councilman Byrd is saying. And Anthony, for instance, is there something that you can put a title on that you could list at either a 3:30 or a 6 o'clock meeting under other business?
Yes, I think I definitely could put a title on it, and it's just to be able, well, and sometimes even during council meetings, Councilwoman, you may get a text from a constituent, saying, hey, and I guess you can wait till later to address it. It just seemed to me that other business was for us to bring up stuff without disrupting our council agenda, and it could have a title on it. And I'll be willing to give you a slow maybe instead of a fast no on that. And so, but it just seemed like with other business, we have completed the business, we're at the end of the agenda. And if something has not been addressed after several times of talking about it, I would like to say, hey, Justin, or hey, Sharita, or hey, Brooke, or hey, whoever at that moment, and say, hey, I'm looking more to get this addressed, and I haven't had a phone call or received any information back. Could you please do it? And it doesn't interrupt the meeting, but now it's on a public forum, it's on the record, and now the people know I have asked the question out loud. So
okay, so I fully agree with what Chair Henderson is suggesting, because other business always should have an agenda. They should be items under other business that have titles to them. But I don't think that your concern should be foreclosed. So I'm asking that you might think about it, that there are ways that you can get that need met. And I get it. I know what you're saying. And I think that perhaps if you could think about putting a title to it.
Okay. 'Cause instead of, if you don't mind, Charles,
Instead of just lobbing it out there,
if we
it
had
might be
something,
something, it's just something to think about.
Okay, let's take it one at a time.
break my hand. There we go.
Councilwoman, you good?
I'm great. I hear Anthony, and I don't think he should be foreclosed. And I just was suggesting maybe instead of lobbing things out there, if you can put a title to it, there's might be a good place where it's better addressed. That's all.
Understand.
Councilman Mitchell, can you start up your video? There we
If
go.
I must.
I like to see your face.
Well, thank you. Two things. I think, and I guess I'm addressing Councilman Byrd more than anyone here, even though it has to do with all of us. Two things. I think what the chairman's trying to do is create a format, and I guess I'm with Councilperson Burrs. If we can find a title for it, perhaps that title fits into other business, or perhaps it fits somewhere else if we want to grow the agenda session. But the one other thing that I would suggest to Councilman Byrd is it's great to get public opinion, but where you possibly should also look, if you need help with the administration, is to your other 8 brothers and sisters to put pressure on the administration. And wherever that happens, whether it's at 2 o'clock, 3:30, or 6 o'clock, whatever the chairman decides, in my opinion, I'm going to support what he's trying to do. I think that we're here to help you. And I hope the other 8 or other 7 brothers and sisters agree with me on this, but I know I'm here, and I would hope they would be here if pressure is needed on the administration. Let's do it as a council. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And Councilman Byrd, and I guess to piggyback on what Councilman Mitchell was saying, one of the things I was thinking about, if we had an avenue at the 3:30 meeting, you could bring it up. I think that would be entirely appropriate, maybe for a committee meeting to grow out of whatever that concern is, so that we not just bring it up, but we actually bring somebody forward that has an opportunity to prepare when they come in. I think many times we wind up putting administrators kind of on the spot when we ask them to be brought in. They're not quite prepared, but if we have a place at our 3:30 agenda session where we can say, you know, I need to hear more about trash or brush pickup and why we don't coordinate or whatever with my neighbors. I think there's an opportunity there to have that brought forth in a committee, and then we address it in a more impactful way.
Understand.
So Councilman Byrd, I'm gonna now recognize your hand.
Thank you so much, Chair. I definitely understand the format and how you guys are trying to stay on task, especially when it comes to other business. Maybe we should create something, because I don't think it gets off task too often, but maybe we should create something called community concerns, or something that we can add to the agenda that we can speak up about. Because one of the things too, Chairman, is that we run into a problem where when the constituents address us, like even now at 3 o'clock, a lot of our people, it's 30 people here, and a lot of them are administration and us. A lot of the community is there at 6 o'clock. And I don't think we have, my opinion, enough dialect with the constituents and our community members to let them know that we're listening and that we are here with them. They'll speak to us at the end, and a lot of times we don't say anything, or we'll just listen to them and say, okay. But I think we should have a time where we let our constituents know that, hey, we are listening, and we did just hear what you said, and have some type of dialect where we can bring up something or let them see us moving forward with it. And I know a lot of times it can be done at 3 o'clock in some probably a better structured situation, but I just think we need to find a better way to have that transparency and that open dialogue on this setting at 6 o'clock with our constituents and with our people so that they can see us addressing the issues and not just kind of doing it, I don't want to say behind closed doors, but doing it in a setting where they don't see us being interactive. So I don't know how that look. I just stay on top of it and keep pressing and see if I can come up with a better solution.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments before we move on to our next item? Okay. If not, we will now move to an update on Goodwill and the Salvation Army. Here comes Miss Sullivan. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
I'm assuming here that you have got an update for us on the Goodwill and the Salvation Army relocation or the housing situation.
Thank you. We have been continuing to work with both entities, with Father to the Fatherless, and wow, where did that come from? Forgotten Child Fund, blast from the past. Sorry about that. With Forgotten Child Fund and with the Furniture Bank, and have talked to both repeatedly, and Tyler Yount and Richard Beeland have both been working with them on helping find locations. They had not found locations that were acceptable to them for a move. So we did extend their leases for another 6 months to, as you saw. And so we are still working with them and hoping that we can help them find places that are acceptable. Goodwill has space. So we all need, including y'all, need to keep working with the two entities, the two nonprofits, for them to find the best spot that they will be productive in.
Okay, do we have any questions for Ms. Sullivan, Councilman Ledford?
Just a quick comment. I don't know, more they're rebuilding the Goodwill out on East Brainerd Road, which is a rather large facility. I don't know if that's been brought up as a potential location or not. I just popped into my head.
A great one.
Anything else? Okay, council. Sounds like you're clear and good on the update. Thank you, Ms. Sullivan.
We'll keep updating you as the conversations continue.
All right, very well. All right. Miss Lydia, you can excuse Ms. Sullivan now. I did get a message from Councilman Oglesby that he's having some internet problems, so maybe he'll be back with us here shortly. Okay, moving on to other business. We do have some listed items under this agenda item. Pending presentations and education session, the GARE and racial equity training that Councilwoman Coonrod and Councilman Mitchell has asked for. I know Miss Beverly has been working on that for us. I think she was working on some times and dates and a price for us. I wonder, Ms. Moultrie, could you come on and give us an update on where we are on that, please, ma'am?
Is on her way.
Okay. Good afternoon, Ms. Beverly. I think the last time we spoke, you were working on some times, and have you got an update for us, ma'am?
I do. I think it was last week I emailed Councilwoman Coonrod that the available date based on council's availability would be November 24th. As you guys recall, you had given me some dates in October that we needed to avoid because of availability. And so after working with the consultant, that would be the next, November 24th would be the next available date for us. And I have not heard anything back from Councilwoman Coonrod as of yet, if that's acceptable to the council.
Well, let me, of course, this is the first I've heard of this date. I know that some council members in the past have traveled, that is Thanksgiving week, And I'm going to assume that that could be a hindrance to some council members.
Understand?
Let me see if council members, anyone have an objection or concern about that date. That does seem a bit inconvenient, but
I have a conflict on that date.
okay.
I do too, sir.
Yeah. So I think we probably need to look, maybe, I don't know, possibly, well, was that the earliest, Ms. Beverly?
No, that originally that was not the earliest, but based on council's schedule,
Okay.
that was the conflict. So this was
Okay.
the next alternative date that the consultants would be available to us.
So it looks like maybe we're either going to be looking at sometime in December or January, I think at this point. I think the 24th would be an inconvenient date for several council members.
Okay. What if you could please, if there are other dates beyond November, as you're talking, whether it's December or January, if you can please let me know what dates are off limits. I definitely recognize that we need to try to schedule this on weeks opposite of a strategic planning session. But if there are other dates that are just off limits, if I could know what those are, and I can work with a consultant from there.
Well, I would say that we could include strategic planning dates on those days. We could use that as a strategic planning.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. Well, I will work with them to see if we can come up with some other available dates then.
Okay. Councilman, Vice Chair Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is this something that we could possibly, since it is a training session, maybe even set up virtually so that there are more time slots that would be available for the consultants as well as the council? Possibly if it's a matter of the consultants having to come in for this or something of that nature. I'm just throwing it out there. We've kind of got this down pat. So for an education session of something of this nature, maybe that might be possible. I'm just throwing that out there as an option to give us more flexibility on dates, sir.
Yes, Vice Chair, and the date, this was going to be a virtual, so was not anticipating a face-to-face session.
Okay, it was on a Tuesday, so I assume that the idea was after the end of this month, we'll all be in the office or back in the office for November. So I figured that would probably be in person, but that makes sense. Okay, thank you, Beverly. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Councilwoman Burrs.
Beverly, what dates are they available between now and the 24th?
Councilwoman Burrs, I would have to go back to them because when I released, they gave me some dates in October, and when I released them, I'm not sure if they're still available. So I would have to go back and revisit that with them.
And how many hours are you talking about?
We had discussed 2 hours. I think we had gotten to maybe 2.5 hours based on our last discussion. Yes.
On a Tuesday.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I believe it was going to start at 11:30.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or concerns before we excuse Miss Beverly? Okay. All right, Miss Beverly, I think, do you have a better understanding now of, feel free to use strategic planning dates as well.
Yes.
And I assume if we do have to look at something in December, we'll stay away from the Christmas and New Year's, those couple of weeks there.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Miss Lydia. We're rolling up on 20 after, and I'm sure we'll want a break before we go into our agenda session, but I do want to, our next item on our other business would be building cleaning contract. I'm not sure who asked for this.
I did, Chair, but
Okay.
I would do it in October the 20th. I know we're on short time now, plus I didn't get all the information I needed to get. So we can put it on October the 20th, it'd be great.
For strategic planning, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And who, what information are you looking for, Councilman?
Well, I gave some information to Mr. Tony. And
Tony Salmons, okay.
All right, and he gave me some information already, but I need some more some of the information was not correct, and he's gonna make sure it's all correct.
Okay. Madam Clerk, would you make sure that we get this item back on for the 20th?
Yes.
Okay. We do have, and we will cover items for future consideration in our agenda session, as well as the council agenda for next week and this week. Councilman Mitchell has a board appointment that he'll be addressing at 6 o'clock. Is there anything else that council would necessarily want to bring up at this point, or you'd like to go into break? Councilman,
I'll follow up offline.
Okay. All right,
Thank
very good. All right, I'll tell you what, before we go into our 3:30 agenda session, let's go ahead and take a break. And we can address those other items at our 3:30 meeting. All right.
See everybody back.
See everybody at 3:30.